Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Keep Wise with Keeping. I am Daniel Smith, your host, and beside me we have Amira.
Hey there, Daniel. How are you?
I am fine. How are you doing, Amira?
Doing good. Doing good. Excited about this topic. Here we go.
Here we go. And how have you been, Amira?
I've been good. I've been good. It's that time of year where we all are starting the sun's going down a little earlier, so we need to think about how do we transition to the fall for sure.
Yeah, yep. It's quickly coming upon us. Can't believe how quickly time has flown by. And talking about that, we're in the middle of home buying season for some people. So, we're always on it. And today we have a very special guest. We have Tracey, the safety lady Hawkins. And Tracey is the leading real estate safety expert. And she's a writer, she's a speaker, she's a trainer, and she's a content creator. And I think that Tracy has a lot of knowledge to share with our guests today. So, let's dive into it and find out a bit about Tracy.
Hi there, and I heard you say Stacy, and I happen to be a twin, and my sister's name is Stacy, and you know her, so but I'm used to it. I answer to either name for over 5 decades. Hi there, it's nice to see you both.
Welcome, Tracy.
Thank you.
All right. Well, why don't we go ahead and start with our first question? First of all, Tracy, who are you? You're named the safety lady. So tell us in the world, who are you and everything that you bring to the table?
I have to bring her up again, poor Stacy. My twin sister Stacy and I got our real estate licenses together about 35 years ago, and she decided to continue being an agent. So she's an agent now. I thought it was not necessarily a good fit for me. So I started a business, a safety and security business, where I was selling safety and security products and traveling around the Kansas City area where I live, talking about safety. And then Stacy said, no one's talking to the real estate agents about safety. So a light bulb went off. It's like, uh-oh. So I started talking to every single real estate in the Kansas City area. Then the next thing I knew, it went national. So people were calling me from all over. Hey, Tracey, come talk to our agents. And then now I'm international. I'm providing safety content for Canada. This is my passion. This is what I do. This is all that I do.
Oh my gosh, this is great. And tell us a little bit about when you say safety, what do you mean? What do we need to be safe about?
The U.S. Department of Labor considers real estate sales and leasing a high-risk, hazardous occupation. If you think about it, the job description, real estate agents make a living sitting in empty houses, waiting for strangers to walk in. They make a living meeting complete strangers in empty houses. It's not a surprise that it's considered high risk, high hazard. What I had to do is to find a way to remove the risk so that agents, not only my sister, but agents, my friends, and the thousands of agents that I talk to every year can do their jobs in a safe manner.
Fantastic. And thank you very much for that clarification. So, what prompted you outside of when you were small growing up? What was real estate something that you really wanted to get into? Provide us with set the stage for us in terms of you coming into real estate and actually going for your license.
Oh, you're taking me way, way back. Nobody ever asked that question. So here's the thing. My mom and dad are Army veterans. My mom happens to be a teacher. I am Catholic. I went to Catholic school, and part of the Catholic school curriculum is community service. So it is ingrained in me to serve. Somehow, some way, community service is ingrained in me. And I've done all kinds of entrepreneurial businesses since I was a teenager, or probably even younger. And I this is going to sound so weird, but the reason that I got into the real estate industry is that I read a book when I was about 18, 19 years old called The Art of the Deal. And I told my sisters, like, we've got to get a real estate license. This is great. So we got our real estate licenses, and here we are. One thing that I had to do, I had a wake-up call. I contacted a broker, and I said, hey, I want to come in and talk to your agents about working safely, making sure they make it home every night. And she said, Tracey, that is not a good business decision for us. Your wonderful, it's great, it's needed. She said, but it's not a good investment. And I'm thinking, what? She said, real estate agents will not show up for any kind of training unless you're teaching them how to make more money. So I had to put on my thinking cap. If I want this to be my career, I need to figure out how to make safety profitable. I created the country's only real estate safety designation, and I teach agents how to not only work safely and make it home every night, but how to protect the consumer. Here's how you make more money by not only being safe, but telling them how to be safe. So that included teaching them how to, when you're on a seller listing appointment, here's a checklist that I created for you. How to keep your house safe while people walk through it, protecting your possessions. Let's get the pictures off the wall, medicine out of medicine cabinets, jewelry out of jewelry boxes. Let's talk about how to keep it safe. And then I provide that checklist to the agents, and I teach them how to incorporate that in their listing presentation so they can stand out. I talk about buyer safety and security. Real estate agents are not allowed to tell a buyer when they ask, is it a good neighborhood, a safe neighborhood? They can't do it. So I say, be a resource, point them in the right direction. There are sites like spotcrime.com, point them to the local police department and get crime statistics for that neighborhood on their own. So that way the real estate agent is not involved, but they are giving them that resource. And finally, probably the biggest thing that I've done is a FSBO safety tip sheet. For sell by owners, don't value really what real estate agents are doing. So I said, let me create a safety tip sheet with 13 safety tips that FSBOs don't think about. Some of the things I tell agents about: getting valuables out of sight, not letting strangers in, don't show a loan. Tell agents to staple their business card to it. Mail it, hand it, or deliver it to FSBOs. Do not talk about listing their property, but just say, I'm offering a great service for you. Here's a way to stay safe while you sell your house. My thinking is by the time that seller gets to number 13, they'll think, oh my God, this is dangerous. I was not thinking about it. And so that gives them an edge on converting FSBOs into listings. So I had to build business development into my safety classes in order to get hired all over the country and in order to get agents to show up.
Wow. You've said a mouthful just in what you've actually explained to us, about how you started. And a lot of the things that you've listed, I don't think that us as regular, either home buyers or home sellers think about. So what does that checklist look like that you've developed, or how does that, how can I, if I'm deciding to sell my home or buy a home, how can I really think about that in a really strategic?
And that is something that I focus on. And I know you focus on content for sellers to keep their information. And I see the safety tie-in. When I first saw your product, it's like, I love this because they have inspections, they have reports that they need to keep in order to add value to their home. And so that's one thing that I focus on. So if a seller is going to put their house on the market, one thing that they need to know is that there will be public people that you don't know walking through your house. So it's up on you to make sure that the house is safe and that the possessions are out of sight. So sellers need to depersonalize their house. That means all of the photos, family photos, out of sight. That means your mail, your stacks of paper that you have there. Your product is perfect for this, Daniel. Keepingly. Make an electronic version, store it online. It should not just be laying around. That means medicine comes out of the medicine cabinet. There's a big black market for prescription drugs, and jewelry out of jewelry boxes. Don't leave the jewelry box empty because then the criminal knows that it's somewhere they're looking for it. So leave a few pieces of costume jewelry there. Don't broadcast your plans on social media. Now we're out of town, and we'll be gone and we'll be in paradise for a whole week, so we can't wait to experience it. The criminals are looking at your account. They know where you live. So you're inviting them to your home. Make sure your house is well lit. People don't really value having lights outside, especially when the property is on the market. If it's a dark house, you're giving criminals a hiding place. So things like that, that's what's on the sheet. The home seller security sheet that the agent gets to go through with them, and on the FSBO safety tip sheet. So part of an agent's job, in my opinion, is leading with safety. They need to be the one talking about safety and security every opportunity, not only keeping the consumer safe, but their safety. So that's where it comes into play. If they're going on a listing appointment, they're walking into a stranger's house. They don't know who they're dealing with. So that's why they need to do their homework, know who owns the house, make sure that's really who's there. And then when you're meeting buyers, you need to check them out. There are tools that they can use to vet the buyers, but safety should be a part of every single agent's real estate contact.
You're so right. I mean, so many times you don't think about, or people don't think about the safety of someone or a stranger potentially buying my house, or someone who is not going to buy my house, but is taking you as a target. So whether you're an agent or a homeowner, it's important that you be mindful that there's some bad people out there that might be looking to take advantage or harm of you. So it's pretty interesting what you're kind of laying out to help us all kind of understand. I do have one question, which is like, what is the biggest, if there's like one tip you're going to give, you mentioned a lot of things today for a homeowner. What's the one thing that they absolutely should do?
This is so horrible, but this is my life. People don't think about safety until something goes wrong, until there's a headline or someone close to you has been impacted. But what I say is you have to think like a criminal. And all of us, we don't have that criminal mindset. So anything and everything you do, you need to know that the criminal is looking at you. So how do you position yourself knowing that? So that's what you have to do. Think like a criminal. If you are leaving and you have even packages on the front porch, a criminal is going to drive by and they're going to grab those packages. So you have to think like a criminal. Have my packages delivered like at a location, as a pickup location, or in a certain spot. You can even have home delivery inside, but all the time think, what would a criminal do in this situation? And I always tell, I do regular safety presentations for just not non-real estate agents, just regular people. And I say, look at your house like a criminal who's going to break in. Imagine that you left a pot of water on the stove boiling, or the baby's there crying, and you accidentally lock yourself out. I guarantee you can figure out how to get in your house. That means you know your weak points. So knowing that, a professional criminal can too. So shore up those weak points, not even if your house is on the market, but just shore them up anyway, because criminals are looking.
Yes, they are.
Wow. Yeah, this is certainly, I would say, an eye opener for anybody who owns a home. I think that it is really criminal. When you say think like a criminal, I'm starting to think, oh boy, yeah, but I've never, really thought about it that way. So it is, I would say, really interesting. So let's dive into some stats and some numbers if you may have them. In terms of how you train agents. So, like, how many agents do you think, really look at this kind of training and think, if Tracey didn't offer it as a service, how do they think about that and getting more of them on board? So, because I would say I myself, having bought a home, never heard any of this. And so, I'm starting to think about how many agents we have who actually have these kind of training, so that I can possibly, if I decide to buy a home or sell a home, figure out, okay, do they have this training, or are they telling me the right thing? How do I go about that?
One thing is, it's a whole mindset. So you just bought a home. I guarantee you, if it was an agent that you didn't know, that you called them and say, meet me at that house, and that agent who you don't know met you, who they don't know, a complete stranger, at that empty house and walked through the house with you. This is where community education comes in. Agents are supposed to have a first meeting. That is how you reduce a crime. You increase witness potential. You never hear stories about two real estate agents getting assaulted or any crimes in that manner, because there truly is safety in numbers. So every single conversation that a real estate agent has with a buyer or seller needs to talk about, here's my safety protocols. Since we don't know each other, I'd like you to meet in our office, my office first. Let me get some information from you, make sure I see what you want, and then that way it'll be more productive working together. The pandemic opened up the door to virtual meetings. I've been talking about it for years. People kind of roll their eyes. And then finally, with the pandemic, people did not have a choice. if you wanted to meet someone, you had to do it virtually. So a virtual first meeting was perfect. You got a chance to look at them. If they wanted, they could show you their property with their phone, how many FaceTime or Google Duo meetings that you have. And then you also could talk to them about what they wanted to see. You could share your screen, show them the property, and save you a lot of time driving around. But most importantly, that was the witness potential. They knew their image was out there. And you also could judge their demeanor. Are they willing? There was a story in California. Two siblings wanted to sell their property. One wanted to sell, the other didn't. When the agent and the home inspector and the two agents got there, the sibling who lived there who didn't want to sell shot all three of them. He killed the home inspector, but the agents were wounded. A first meeting would allow them to see his disposition, the demeanor of whoever you're going to meet, so they would be able to prepare accordingly. You can see if they're motivated, highly motivated, or not, so you can gauge it. So a first meeting is important, whether it's in person or virtually. And buyers, if you're going to be meeting an agent and they want that meeting, understand why. And one agent I had said, I was going to meet new clients at a property, and I started thinking about it. She said, I don't know them. So she called up. She said, hey, can we meet at my office first? And the guy said, why? She said, just to get some information and go over some things. He said, that's crazy. We're going to drive by the house to go to your office. It doesn't make sense. She said, look, I don't know you from Adam. If I were your mom, your sister, your wife, your daughter, your girlfriend, wouldn't you want them to be safe? The next question he asked was, what time do we need to be at your office? So I say educating the community about why you do what you do is so important, and it's an important part of it.
Yeah, this is fascinating. Amira and I will be talking about this for a while to come, because I think that ultimately you've just laid out a whole ton of facts. And I love the community aspect that you've really hinted on, because when you go into a neighborhood, whether or not you may know the person, but you have to think about, is this somewhere where I potentially want to live? And how do you get agents to, it may be a new area to them, though they should have a landscape of where the area is, or what is happening there. But how do agents kind of create that reassurance in somebody who is buying? Because they're precluded from talking about things like crime and stuff like that. But then how do they create that kind of awareness for the homeowner and for the buyer, at least in some of those circumstances?
And let me know if I get the answer right to your question. One thing I heard neighborhood, and that is such an important topic. How many times have I heard an agent say, I only work in good neighborhoods, or I only work in the daytime so I don't have to worry about crime? No. Criminals have cars. That means there's no such thing as a good neighborhood. And sometimes the nicer neighborhoods, the upscale luxury neighborhoods, that's where the good stuff is. And agents talk about not working at night, so they work in the daytime. They think everything's okay. Most of the crimes that happen in the real estate community happen in the daytime, and they happen in upscale neighborhoods. So it's everywhere. So all agents need to be alert and aware. Plus, your clients are going to want to see when they're off work. And if it's in the evening time, if you're saying I'm the agent who doesn't work in the evening, you're limiting your opportunity to earn. I don't know if that answered your question, Daniel.
Yeah, it does a bit, and what it leads me to is like, so in terms of how many, there are 1.5 million real estate agents in this country, according to the National Association of Realtors. How many of them have like taken this training? So can I go on somebody's website and see, oh well, they've taken this certification, or they know? Because I now, armed with this information, I'm just starting to think that, my next agent needs to have that. And what certification should I be thinking of or looking for that they have to ensure that they're properly, certified to be my realtor?
Okay, let me tell you this. There are actually 3 million real estate agents and professionals in the country. There are 1.5 million realtors. The realtors belong to the National Association of Realtors. So all agents aren't realtors. So no, there are 3 million out there. The question about the training, My certification, I want to say I have like 750 agents who have earned the certificate, the designation. I also teach brokers, managers, and owners how to keep their office safe. After a real estate agent was murdered on the job, her family sued the real estate brokerage, the company. And so after that, another light bulb came on. It's like, Tracey, you've got to create training to teach brokers how to protect their bottom line, how to decrease their liability and the opportunity to be sued successfully. So that's a whole other training. So real estate agents, and I must be honest, we're here to be honest. How do I say this nicely? Okay, I'm just going to say it. Real estate agents don't really value safety. I said it until something has happened. When there is a news headline about a crime against a real estate agent, everybody is on board. People want to talk to Tracey, the safety lady. When there's no crime in the headline, not much going on. So that's the challenge. Not only me, but every single safety professional in this country has to deal with that. So that's why my goal is to be proactive. I need agents to want to take safety training. According to NAR, there was a statistic that said 60,000 agents had been the victim of a crime. I think it was last year. What they do is they publish a member residential safety report every year, and that takes the temperature of the real estate industry. I love for everyone to take a look at the NAR member residential safety report. You can see the statistics about crimes against agents, how many agents feel uncomfortable, and resources. The one that really speaks to me is 75% of the agents who do take safety training said that they feel better and more confident working afterwards. So that's a key. But the other one is that 51% of the brokers, the managers, the owners offer safety training. So that means 49% of the others are not. My challenge is finding a way to convince every single one of the real estate professionals in this industry that safety training could save your life. Those stories, when I see them, most of them are preventable. So there are things that agents can do, but again, it's not on the radar if nothing's happening. So my goal is that proactive safety training. Let's build your business. Let's teach you how to be more profitable by protecting the consumer. Brokers and managers, let me talk to you about how to not get sued, how to set up safe practices for your agents in your office. But meanwhile, let's do this before there's another crime in the headlines. And most agents have no clue of all of the crimes that are occurring on a regular basis. So I talk about those in my Facebook group on social media, and I write for most of the industry publications, Realtor Magazine, Inman, RAS Media, and The Close. So I'm writing about the stories, and I'm saying, here's what's going on that are not in the major headlines. So education is key. I can't say that enough.
Absolutely. Education is so important. And, you mentioned a bit around, I'm just curious, like most homeowners, right, are expecting that their agent is going to keep them safe, and so I just want to kind of double click. You kind of talked about a lot of things that agents can do to be safe, but as a homeowner, what are some of the questions or things that I should be looking at to make sure my agent has my safety top of mind?
Excellent question. A couple of things, and this sounds kind of off the track, but most lockbox, there are two major lockbox companies that have safety features. One of the safety feature is a personal feature for agents. If you're in trouble, you can let your contact list know where your location is. So kudos there. But the other one is that it keeps track of who is entering your property. So sellers need to make sure their agent has a lockbox that tracks the comings and goings so that you know after the fact who's been in your house. The agent who is safety trained, the ones that I talk to, from the minute you walk in that door, you are talking to the sellers or potential sellers. If it's a listing appointment, here's what you need to do to keep your house safe. And again, get your jewelry out of the jewelry box, medicine out of the medicine cabinets, your devices. All of us have our devices carelessly throughout our house. We don't think about it, especially the kids and their electronics. Get those out of sight. The personal pictures of your families, your kids, the schedule on the refrigerator of where the kids' soccer games or their sports or their dance or recitals are. Get it out of sight, because people walking through your house, they don't need to know that information. So again, the agent, I want the agent to be the one leading here. Talk to them about locks, landscaping, and lighting. Be the agent, letting them know that your house is going to be on the market. I cannot control who is coming through your house when other agents show it. But when I show it, here's what I'm going to do to make sure the person who's coming through is an actual legitimate, vetted, pre-approved buyer. So agents can to lead with safety and let the buyer, the seller know right up front that I'm looking out for you. And that's going to give them an edge because I guarantee you the other 2 or 3 agents that they interview for the listing aren't doing it. So sellers, get valuables out of sight. Listen to your agent.
I'm a bit. I think that there's so much hitting us with this topic, and so Tracy, what is the so you write about the crime, you write about the statistics. What do you think is the most preventable thing that agents can do at this stage? Uh, in addition to your training, though, what else can they do? How else can they really protect my interests? Because at the end of the day, I think that the agents serve their clients. And so when the agents protect themselves, I think that they're protecting me also in the long run. So what else can be done to ensure that they are taking everybody's safety into account?
I have to talk about what's new, what's happening now in the technology world. That's artificial intelligence. That's what most of my training is now. I'm about to go do 2 trainings, 2 different cities this week. Everybody needs to get on board with the new updated technology. Generative artificial intelligence, it is here. That's ChatGPT, that's Bard, that's Bing, that's Claude, that's Midjourney, that's Canva. Real estate agents are saying, we're not going to worry about that. It'll go away. First of all, it is not going away. And number 2, you need to worry about it because it is not going away. Your sellers, buyers, they see the news. They see the stories about the deep fakes. They see the scams and frauds. What I want you to do is to be the agent who understands how artificial intelligence is going to be a part of the real estate industry going forward. The most important thing is educating the buyers and sellers so that they are not scammed or defrauded. Here's what you need to understand. Those are generative tools. Real estate agents are going to use them. If you're the agent who's not using them, artificial intelligence won't replace you, not right now anyway, but the agents who are using it will run circles around you. They will outproduce you. So you need to get on board. I always say, don't be the flip phone agent. Don't be left behind. So get on board now. These tools allow you to create content. So you can give it a command. It's called a prompt. If you can manage a family, manage a business or a team, you know how to give commands and instructions. You can say, hey, ChatGPT or any of these tools, create a series of social media posts. Give me 30 days of posts. Let's talk about winter safety. Let's talk about homeowner safety, how to secure your house while it's on the market. Let's talk about buyer safety or anything. I'm just a safety girl. So my topics are going to revolve around safety, but you can pick any topic. What it's going to do for you, it's going to give you perfectly written topics, the content that you've asked for, whether it's a blog post, a social media post, an email, it will give you that information well written. One thing you need to do is you can say, hey, give me high SEO content. So those of you who want to rank high in the algorithm, you understand SEO marketing, tell it to give you high SEO content, tell it to give you the top 3 hashtags, the best time to post this content, the best days to post it, and sit back and watch it work. You can also use the tools to generate images. So you don't have to worry about stock images anymore. Generate images. One thing that you can do is Canva. Most real estate agents use Canva. Canva has ChatGPT powering it, so you can give it content, but you can also use the magic tools. Here's what I want real estate agents to really listen to. Magic Erase is a tool where you can erase something out of a picture, and it's magical and it's gone. It could be a basket of laundry where your sellers aren't the neatest people, so you can erase something like that. You can also add something in, but here's what you need to be careful of. You cannot materially erase anything material to the property. Anything that's built in or attached to the property, you cannot erase it. You need to also understand that cyber criminals are using these tools. So if there's a property that has a defect, like a giant crack in the basement or in the wall, they can erase that. So knowing that these tools exist will help you be a better agent to serve the consumer. The buyer is the one who I see who could potentially be in bigger trouble. Think about the Craigslist scams where they would hijack one of the listings and then they'd advertise it, and then buyers would say, oh, I want that, and they're saying hurry up and send a deposit. So they're sending their deposit. Now cyber criminals are using deep fake images that they've created that don't exist, and buyers are losing money. Be the agent talking to them before you send any money on any property. Talk to me. Also for Airbnb scams, they're making up properties that don't exist, and buyers are losing money. So agents need to do their homework, be familiar with how artificial intelligence works. One final thing about that, as you already talked to your buyers and sellers about wire fraud. Wire fraud is over $4 billion industry because cyber criminals are able to send these emails, and the buyers or sellers don't pay attention. They click on it, they wire their money, and they lose their money. In my training, I talk about how to not lose their money, but cyber criminals are using these tools to write perfect wire change emails. So it looks good. It's not the gobbledygook and the improper English of the past. Now it looks good. So agents need to talk to the buyers and sellers and say, hey, this exists. Cyber criminals are going to write you great emails, but you need to check with me on a phone number that you know is mine, on an email address that you know is mine. Never respond to the content in. So to answer your question, Daniel, is agents need to have the conversation with the buyers about this new threat, this new cyber threat that is called generative artificial intelligence. Agents need to use the tool to generate your safety content or just to grow your business, but you also need to be aware of how cyber criminals are using it so that you can advise the agents, your consumer. You look like the agent who's tech savvy. And finally, the information that you put in there is not private. Do not put proprietary company data, financials in there. Don't put your client's name and their financial situation in there when you're trying to do a custom report. Just do it generically, and then you can add the name later. But the information that is there is not private. So you don't want to unleash that information to the whole world. And keep in mind that you have to fact check artificial intelligence. It gets creative. They call it hallucination. I call it lie. So fact check anything and don't copy and paste because you can get in trouble for plagiarism. Tweak it a little bit as you fact check it.
Wow. I mean, you really definitely given so much feedback on the future, and it made me start to think about, you kind of alluded to it earlier, but there are homeowners that are going out there and trying to buy homes, sell their own home on their own. And, you talked a lot about the agent on this new way, but how does this impact homeowners that are trying to do this on their own?
Homeowners need to know first and foremost that the cyber criminals are using these tools. So a homeowner can get a phone call. Cyber criminals can impersonate other voices. They can record a voice and duplicate it, make a phone call. So, hey, homeowner, this is your lender. And, hey, it sounds just like them. I need you to send the money we need to change the wire instructions. So go ahead and send that money, or we need to reduce the price of your house because the buyers are looking for a lower price. And so they could talk them into doing something that they shouldn't do. So homeowners need to be aware. Just the general public needs to know that these tools are out there. We see the deep fakes on TV, that picture of the Pentagon exploding. It wasn't real. It was a deep fake, but the news organization didn't vet it. We saw the video of Ukrainian President Zelensky saying, hey, the war is over. Soldiers, lay down your weapons. Look at how dangerous that is. And then people are even talking about it in the political season, that people are duplicating people, making them say things they never said, do things they never did. So everybody in general needs to pay attention to artificial intelligence because it's out there and it's coming for us. I had a Colorado's Bureau of Investigation cybercrime expert. She said to tell people that cyber criminals, they're coming for you because of the information and the ways that they can trick you. Just even cybercrime, not just even with AI, but just cyber criminals in general. They're looking to part you from your money. The grandparent scam. In the past, they used to call grandparents and say, this is your granddaughter, your grandson. I'm in trouble or I'm sick. Can you wire money and don't tell mom and dad? Now they're using these AI tools to take it to the next level. They're actually duplicating real voices, and they can call CEOs and saying, hey, this is the CEO. I want you to wire money to the accountant, wire money to this account. And it sounds just like the CEO. It sounds like the grandparent. It sounds like a friend. It sounds like a neighbor. It could sound like anyone. The red flags, or if there's a sense of urgency, if they're asking for money or information, especially financial information. So every single person needs to be alert and aware of how this new technology is coming for us. And it's still new, but I guarantee you there will be headlines. My job is to prevent those headlines, and you do that with education.
You got a big job. You got a big job.
It is, but I love what I do. I love what I do, and it's just a matter of convincing people to be safe in a proactive manner. Let's not wait for crimes to occur. Let's get out in front of it. So that's my challenge, and that's why I love opportunities like the one you all are giving me to talk about what people can do to avoid being victimized.
Tracey, one of the things that I'm looking at based on everything that you've said is in 3 to 5 years, the world is going to look pretty different. Between generative AI may just be just AI, whatever. But the thing about it is that for most of us, our homes will still be our homes, or we'll still want to buy that homes. We've just exited the pandemic where we've had a lot of scenarios where people were buying houses sight unseen. They were, sending money because they couldn't go, and they were making a lot of really important decisions. Do you think, based on what has happened in the past, that some of that is going to now start catching up with us? Or have you seen some of it catch up with us already? And in how you think about it, because we moved from a world where everybody wanted to do everything in person, and then everything became online. Do you think that going forward, we are going to, revert more back to less online because we're starting to, be more out there, and people are, I would say, reducing their level of the trust that they would have had before in terms of certain things? We want to go back to, okay, seeing and shaking hands and stuff like that. How do you, um, mitigate look at the past and the future, and then determine, based on safety and protocols, where we should be in terms of, to make sure that we're able to protect ourselves as homeowners?
The sight unseen comment reminds me of a story. During the pandemic, there was a real estate agent who sold a house sight unseen to a buyer. He was a senior, about 85 or so years old, because that's the only way you could do business during the pandemic. So agents were forced to work virtually. So the buyer, bought the house sight unseen, closed and everything. So he moves to the house, and he decides that he wants to return it. The real estate agent went over to talk to him about it, and he shot and killed the agent. Then he turned the gun on himself. I got to speak at the NAR conference in Florida one year, and I told that story, and it just so happens that a friend of that agent was in the audience. And I said, what would you advise, based on what you know about the story? How can those kind of crimes be prevented? And she said, even if it's a virtual transaction, she said, make sure that the buyer looks at the property in real life before you close, before you sign off. That's not always possible. My sister Stacy sold $1 million property strictly virtual. They never saw the house until they moved in. But then there is a lesson to be learned there. So you need to be extra careful. You also mentioned the fact that about shaking hands, looking in the agent's eyes, going back to getting out into the world. I was talking about artificial intelligence, and I had an agent say, artificial intelligence will never replace us, because the talk now is agents, one day there's going to be a chat bot or humanoid that's going to replace you, and you will lose your jobs. She said artificial intelligence will never replace us as an agent. AI cannot shake a hand, cannot look you in the eye, can't smile at you. And then I told everyone to look up Ameca, AMECA. That is a humanoid that a reporter interviewed. It has a whole body, a hand, it has eyes, it smiles, and it talks. I said, be very careful if you're the agent who thinks I don't have to worry about this. I am not saying that it will replace you right now, but think about during the pandemic. If people wanted to see a property, they were able to do the self-showings, right? No agent showed up, but that person was able to get into that property. A lot of rental property investors do that. The Airbnbs do that. So there's no person who has to be there. So do not dismiss the fact that this new technology is coming for the real estate industry. Just get on board right now and utilize it, work with it, so that it's not replacing you. It accompanies you. It helps accelerate your success and your production. So just for the agent who's out there, just know that the technology's there. Embrace it. Get in on board right now. There is training out there that will teach you how to use that content to grow your business, how to automate tasks, how to be your assistant. My training is how to use it safely. Some of the things I talked about, not sharing personal information, knowing that there's no such thing as privacy, what to do, what not to do. So everybody needs to understand that the technology won't replace the human contact right now. But you're saying look down the road. We don't know what's going to happen. So I'd rather be on the front row of the technology now than to look up and say, oops, I missed it, and it's replacing me.
And that's, for me at least, the perfect answer in terms of where because there are people who want us to start thinking about that. We're doing so much in terms of AI, etc. But I think that exactly is the perfect answer. And I love those examples about the sight unseen, and that was unfortunate about that incident. So Tracey, I'm sure you have tons of stories of horrific things. What is the worst story that can serve as a lesson for us as homeowners in terms of how do we protect ourselves? And on the agent side, how do they protect themselves? Because I want this to serve as a wake up, because until we spoke today, some of these things really never ran through my mind. I'm just thinking, hey, as a happy-go-lucky, I want that house. I want to be here. Let me just go. Let me just call the number. Let me just go on Zillow. Let me just find the agent. The people who listed there are supposed to be. So you've opened my eyes. So I want, let's do a little shock and awe here. What is the worst case scenario? Because being shot because you bought a house sight unseen and you didn't like it is crazy. But I'm sure you've heard more crazy stories than that.
I'm trying to think of just one. One of my classes is lessons learned, where I talk about the headline, all the stories in the headlines. For the agent, the stories that bother me the most is when a crime happens to an agent and then it happens again and again, which means that first crime didn't serve as a lesson learned. Real estate agent was killed after she got a phone call from a buyer. She didn't know. He said he was a cash buyer. You know what people do when they hear cash buyers. I'm a former agent. I understand it. So she set up an appointment. And then she started talking about, oh, I don't want to meet him alone. Something's wrong here. And the reason I know what she was thinking is I interviewed her office mate. And so she called back. She said, I'm not comfortable meeting you alone. So then he said, don't worry, my wife will be there. When she got there, it was just him, no wife. He ended up kidnapping her and murdering her. And her son talks about the crime. I talk about the crime in every training because there's a lesson to be learned. From trusting your gut, her gut said something's wrong. From meeting a complete stranger, there are ways to vet strangers and without blaming the victim. We can learn lessons. The reason that story rises to the top is because in 2020, a real estate agent in Minnesota had the exact same thing happen. She got a phone call from someone she didn't know. She met them at a property. He kidnapped and killed her. My goal is lessons learned. Those stories that happen should never be repeated, because once you hear about it, you should say, oops, I'm going to learn a lesson. For whatever reason in this industry, the lesson is not learned. So the same crimes happen over and over again. So that's a challenge that I face. As far as home sellers, as long as you listen to the advice out there, whether you're trying to sell it on your own, do the research that the FSBO safety tip sheet that your agent will give you. Do the research, learn what to do, what not to do. That means valuables out of sight. That means using a tool like KeepWize to electronically store your paperwork that should not be laying around. People leave stacks of mail that have bills, financial statements, just there for anyone walking through to pick up and steal your valuables. So look at your house from the fresh eyes of a criminal walking through. What can they take? What can they do? What can they damage? What can they learn about you and your family that they have no business learning? So think about it from that perspective. From the buyer's perspective, do your homework. Before you look at a house or a property, whatever area, do the homework. Again, sites like spotcrime.com, go to the police department and find out what the crime statistics are in a certain neighborhood. so you can know what kind of crime is prevalent in that neighborhood. There are tools like Forewarn that you can put in a phone number or email address, and it will give you a list of criminal convictions before you meet that person. It will talk about their financial background, if they have foreclosures or bankruptcies, so that you can know if they're qualified. But one thing to keep in mind is that all criminals are not convicted. So it's just a tool. It will let you know if that's a real phone or a burner phone. So you need to do your homework before meeting anyone.
Whoa.
Oh, I can't hear.
Can you hear us, Tracey?
Now I can. Now I can.
Great. Go ahead, Daniel. I know you got your question.
We're wrapping up. I think that Tracey has given us enough to really have us on our P's and Q's and really keep us really guarded and grounded as we navigate this space. So Tracey, I have a favorite question. So if you had a magic wand and you can, impact the world, how would you do it?
Education. Everybody, just pay attention to what can happen. Don't be the one saying that will never happen to me. It can't happen to me. It doesn't happen here. It doesn't happen to people like me. It doesn't happen in this place where I live. Just always know that, as sad as it is, you have to just keep in mind the cyber criminals and criminals are looking for you. So your personal safety is important. Take classes. One self-defense class is not enough. If you carry a weapon, whether it's pepper spray or a firearm, you need to make sure you're following the laws, and you must practice. You must have it accessible. You must be willing to use it. So just take your safety seriously. Do not wait until something happens. Be proactive, no matter how unfun it seems. Take a class that's energetic, interactive, and engaging. And that's something that I strive to do, to make it important, make it fun, so to speak, for people to learn to be safe. But that's it, Daniel. Just people need to take safety and security seriously in a proactive way before something happens.
Fantastic.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Tracey, for being that voice and being the champion for us, for homeowners, for agents, for people, that they have an opportunity to learn how to be more safe than they were and to prevent issues from happening. So thank you.
Thank you all so much for valuing this topic. I really appreciate the opportunity to say it.
Thank you. And thank you for coming on and sharing everything that you have and you've learned. And I hope that our users and listeners would, glean and gain from this moment. And so we need to have you back, as next year, and as you build new training material, etc., and you get more stories, because I think it's something that it's just like, as you say, you can't just do it once. We have to do it, at least more than once, so that it becomes built into us. Because I think that most of us, we try to de-escalate and the risk and stuff like that, so we don't necessarily have it at the top of our radar. But I think that you being here today really would open a lot of eyes to these issues and create a lot of awareness and visibility and education. I love that word, though. We love to educate people, and this is why we do what we do. So thank you once again. And
that's not everything I know, Daniel. That's just a portion of it. So I have tons of classes, but I'm happy to share what I know. And like you said, there's so much more we can talk about. So next time I come back, we can have all new different topics.
Fantastic. Everyone, thank you very much. Goodbye.
Be safe, everybody. Be safe.